Hi, everyone. I'm Joan Lunden, and I am going to be talking with Peggy Rowe. Now, Peggy Rowe is the first New York Times bestselling author in her family, but she publicized that book called About My Mother when she was 80. Seriously, at 80 years old, she became a first-time author and a New York Times bestselling author. Now, in the beginning, she self-published it, but when it sold 10,000 copies in a couple of weeks, she knew she was onto something. So she started working with a publisher. I know him very well. He's my publisher. I think he's great. His name is Jonathan Merck, and it's with Forefront Books, and they reprinted that book, and she hit the New York Times bestseller list. Then she did another book, and that one was this, about your father, and it hit the New York Times bestseller list in its premiere week. So it's kind of crazy. And now Peggy Rowe, let me just tell you, she is the mother of Mike Rowe. Now you've probably seen him on shows, Returning the Favor, Somebody's Got to Do It. And she's made a bunch of appearances on Mike's shows. And she's also appeared in some of his commercials. You'll recognize her because you saw her in the Viva paper towel commercial. That's the one I always remember. What started the whole thing, though, was that Mike read a story of hers on camera, but she had written it. It was called Old Blue. And the story was about her losing her purse at Walmart and this adventure that she and her husband, John, went on to recover the purse. And so Mike played it on his Facebook page. It got 71 million views. Is that crazy? And as a result, like, all this has been happening to Peggy in her 80s. She built a following on Facebook. I think she says she calls them her LFBF, her little Facebook friends. So I am really, really excited to say hi to Peggy. Hi, Peggy.
Hi, Joan.
Hi, I've been reading your book and I'm loving it.
Oh,
and there you are. I've been reading your book and loving it. I'm reminded of someone when I'm reading your book, and that's Herma Bombeck.
Oh,
because she was on Good Morning America for years and years and part of our family. And you have that quality.
you know, of all the compliments I could receive, that's my favorite because
Really?
she has been my hero for years. I have everything that Herma Bombeck has ever written. It's on my bedside table and I read them frequently. Yes, I so admire her. In fact, every other year I go to the Herma Bombeck Writers Workshop out in Dayton, Ohio. It's 3 wonderful days spent with writers and experts on the topic, but it's a lot of fun.
On the topic of being a humorist, I remember she called herself a humorist. Is that what you call yourself?
I do, because I don't do one-liners and jokes that like comedians do, but I look at the world around me and I see the humor in it. I see the humor in my relationship to the world around me, and that's why I call myself a humorist.
So you write about real things, and that's probably why people relate to you so much. I got to start with asking you about the big blue purse. What happened with the big blue purse?
It's a true story.
Okay.
I was at Walmart shopping one day, and I came home, pulled into the parking spot, reached over for my purse. It wasn't there. It was nowhere in the car. And of course I panicked. I must have a good heart because I'd have had a heart attack otherwise. Came into the house and told my husband, and he immediately started canceling credit cards. I remembered the last place I had seen it was in the Walmart parking lot hanging over a shopping cart. And that's where I left it. So long story short, we got in the car, went back over there, and my husband did an exhaustive search of all the trash cans, thinking, well, maybe somebody just took the money and put the purse in the trash can. So a woman turned it in. So it does have a happy ending. And this woman is now my friend, Beverly.
Oh, really? Oh,
yes.
How great. How great is that?
She
You made
was,
a good Samaritan, a good friend.
indeed, she was the sweetest person. There are a lot of good people out there, actually. So I did find it, brought it home. And, but in the meantime, while I was sitting here at my desk, while John was canceling credit cards, you know, you like to share things with people. So I did. I called my sons, all three of my sons, told them what had happened. I wanted their sympathy. And of course, I got it, except for Mike. He said, Mom, don't tell me about it. Sit down and write about it. So I
Ooh.
did. I sat down and wrote about it. I wrote about my day and had a happy ending, as I said. But so Mike, I sent it to him. I wrote about it, the whole story, sent it to him as an email. And he immediately, I have to be very careful what I send him because he
I'll
turned
bet you do.
this video and he read to his Facebook fans. Well, he has millions of Facebook fans. So he read the letter and then he went off to work, came back and realized it had gone viral and been shared millions and millions of times.
Yeah, I think
And,
like 71 million times. Not that
yeah,
we're counting or anything.
well, who
I
knew?
mean, you became like a viral sensation at that moment.
Yeah, it was a good story.
It was a
happy
good story.
happy ending. Yeah, yeah.
So listen, you know, you know that I just wrote a book about aging. Um,
Oh,
eh,
I know. I'm reading
oh,
it, and
you're
it's
reading it too,
so
and
good.
I'm reading yours. Hey,
And
kiddo.
I'm about halfway through, and you know what? I have to admit, I picked it up and I thought, okay, I'll read this, so I know a little bit about where she's coming from, and I got into it, and I can't stop. It's really good. I'm about halfway through, and you know why? It's relatable.
Yeah.
I can relate, especially the section about 6 sure signs I'm aging. And sure enough, I have the same signs you do.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I dare say women of a certain age experience
Yeah.
that.
Well, you know what the problem though is that some of the things that we experience, I mean, the forgetfulness, we can joke about it a little bit, but don't think we don't worry about it.
Oh, yeah.
And so many of the other things, you know, are they're kind of embarrassing. So we tend not to talk about it. And that's why I wanted to write a conversation starter and I wanted to really make it personal. Also funny. You have to be funny when you're talking about weak pelvic floors. I don't know if you've gotten to that chapter yet, but because I wanted us to be able to all as women talk about it. It's happening to all of us, you know, but sometimes women think it's just happening to them. And when they think it's just happening to them, I worry that then they're going to say, oh, I'm declining, I'm old, I'm not relevant anymore, I'm not attractive anymore. Meanwhile, it's the same thing that's happening to everybody. So I think if women can look at it, look at all these aspects of aging that way, they won't start kind of downgrading themselves. You look like you let things roll off your back. I mean, what are you, 82?
82, but you know what?
82 is the new 45, folks.
Funny you should mention the pelvic floor because I just went through that this year. I had surgery and it was successful. And I highly recommend it. If your doctor recommends it, do it
Yeah.
and get it over with.
But you know, the problem is that if women don't talk to their doctors about it, if they don't, you know, speak up, they're never going to find out that there are fixes for a lot of the things that we stress and worry about.
Indeed, there are solutions that we don't even know about until we talk to our doctor. I was really glad that I did.
You just seem like somebody who is not going to sit around and just let something bother you. What has this journey been like to come into this career? I mean, you've loved writing your whole life, if I'm correct, but to come up with this career in your 80s, and you're killing it. Like, what's that journey been like for you?
First of all, I feel very fortunate and I feel very humbled by it because there are so many people out there who would like to be writers or who write and have never had the opportunity to be published. I feel very fortunate.
Don't you also feel excited?
Oh my golly, exhilarating is the adjective that I used. It has been so exhilarating to have people come up to you and say, Mrs. Rowe, I love your writing. I can identify with the things you're saying. And the woman who came up to me at one of my presentations, there was an audience, and she said, Mrs. Rowe, I have to tell you, I keep your book by the bedside table. And whenever I'm feeling low, if I've had a bad day, if I feel like I can't go on, I pick up your book. I had another woman who told me that her grandchild had died this year. And she said, I have not smiled in months. I'll probably tear up as I tell you, until I picked up your book. And she said, and I can smile again. Well, it doesn't get any better than that, Joan.
It really doesn't get any better than that, does it, Peggy? I mean, to think that you put a smile on someone's face or help them get through a day. We had talked before, and you told me that when you're out doing appearances, sometimes you search for a word. That's kind of like my book. Why did I come into this room?
Oh, exactly. And you know what? Everybody of a certain age can relate to that. And I was doing a presentation. I think it was in a library, and I was trying to come up with a word, and I was feeling a little nervous about it. And then I thought, well, hell, I'm 80. I deserve to be able to not remember a word. And so I struggled a little bit, and then it was like charades. I started to say, well, it means this, and it's not a video, but it's something you listen to. And somebody yelled, podcast. And I said, yes, that's it, podcast. And so for the rest of my talk, every now and then I would pretend I couldn't think of a word, and I would hesitate. And in no time, somebody was shouting it out from the audience. It was an interactive presentation, and it was lots of fun.
Yes, and Peggy, they call that shtick. You got a little shtick going on, and it's a fun thing to do. And you know, it's kind of like that self-deprecating humor that people just say, "Oh my gosh, she has to deal with this too," and somehow there's like a simpatico, and it makes them feel better about having to deal with the same things, the same emotions in life.
I think you're right. And every day it was funny, just about an hour ago, my husband came to the door and he said, I can't find my glasses. And I said, oh, I think I just saw them on the bathroom counter. He went in and got them. And so I would never make fun of him, because just 10 minutes before we started this interview, I couldn't find my glasses. So I had to get up and go in the other room. And I asked John if he'd seen mine. He said, no, can't help you. Mine were on the bathroom counter also.
So you have to like retrace your steps. We all do that. After a while, you might start finding them in the refrigerator.
Oh, well, I'll start to worry then, or in the microwave. Yeah, that would be bad news.
Well, you mentioned John, your husband. You guys have been married for 60 years. So what's the secret to a long, enduring, happy marriage?
I always say it's one day at a time. Every day presents new challenges, something different. But we were just talking about being forgetful. Whenever John goes out the door, and he volunteers 2 days a week. He's been doing it for 25 years.
That's great.
He volunteers at the hospital 1 day a week, and then he volunteers with Meals on Wheels. Whenever he goes out the door, I don't care where he's going, I have a checklist. It's mental. It's in my head. Do you have your glasses? Yeah. Do you have he has a plate with a tooth on it. Do you have your tooth? Do you have your brace? He has a collapsed arch, so he wears a little brace on his. Do you have your brace? Yes, I do. Do you have your wallet? Do you have your keys? And it goes on, and he kind of jokes about it, but you know what? It's important to do that.
That's taking care of, that's support, that's taking care of everybody, watching their back.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. He needs it, and I need it. My goodness, none of us are infallible.
Coming into this kind of, along with this fun notoriety and this ability to write books, you've had a pretty overwhelming schedule at the same time. How has it been for you? Has it been a little bit overwhelming the last couple of years? Or just fun?
You know what? Sometimes it is. It's a little overwhelming, but I'm very fortunate. I have a lot of help. I have a lot of helpers who keep my schedule straight. As I say to them, you know what? I can get up and talk in front of people. I'm fine. I just can't make all of the arrangements. I need help making the arrangements. I can get us packed and to the curb. I need somebody there to pick us up, take us to the airport, pick us up from the, all those little transitional phases. I need help with. I can do the important stuff, actually presenting.
But they're long presentations sometimes.
Sometimes they are. Yeah, they are. But you know what? And that's another first. There have been so many firsts these last couple of years. I know it's old hat for you because you've had such an illustrious career in front of cameras and up in front of a lot of people, but I haven't. And so this is something new for me. And darn, I like it. It's really, it's invigorating. You know, I feel like it gives me energy.
Did you ever imagine that this would happen at this point in your life?
No, my goodness. I thought, gee, when you're 82, you kind of just sit back and watch television.
Not someone like you.
No, no. I think I might have a little bit of ADD. I can't just do one thing at a time. I can't just sit and watch TV. I have to be playing a game or do something with my hands or even writing something.
The writing part has worked out pretty well for you. And you're also, what the other thing you've lived through is that you're the mom of a celebrity. And it's funny because Mike has done a lot of crazy things, maybe a little bit dangerous. And I was doing the same kind of thing on my Behind Closed Doors show. And my mom used to get a little upset with me. What do you mean you're going to be at 70,000 feet in a U-2 in a spacesuit? I said, Mom, don't worry about it. I'm with another expert. Like your son, I don't know, he goes into pits with sharks and stuff, right?
You know what he did? He got out on, now what do you call those things that hang? He was on the 60th story of a high rise. And
rappelling? We're doing charades here, Peggy.
Yeah, right. Onto a bosun's chair on one of these things that hangs from a rope and washed windows, 60 stories up in Hawaii. And he had a GoPro camera and he looked around and there was the ocean and really,
that sounds super scary.
It was down my spine. Chills went down my spine. Things
that
like
must have been for the show Somebody's Got to Do It.
I think it might have been. Yeah. Yeah, he did a lot of ridiculous things. He did vertical dancing, suspended from ropes, hundreds of feet in the air. Hard to watch.
Vertical dancing. I don't know if I've heard of that one, but it's funny because it sounds kind of like he and I have, done the same kind of thing where we try to give the viewer the real sense of what, not just to point a camera at somebody, but to do it yourself with that camera and let them actually feel the fear that's involved.
Yeah, it's scary. A lot of things were scary. In fact, he was visiting us one night and sitting on the sofa alongside of us. And we were watching an episode of, I think it was Dirty Jobs, and he was doing something, absurdly scary and dangerous. And he was sitting right there next to me, and I knew that it had ended well, but still it was hard to watch your own offspring, your own flesh and blood doing something that was so dangerous. So, I mean, John and I watched a lot of his shows like this, just hard to watch. And John frequently would shout, "Put a mask on, Mike. Put a mask on."
Shouting at the TV, of course.
Yes, at the TV.
Was it fun doing the commercial?
Oh, my goodness. In my book, in this book, which is also called About Your Father and Other Celebrities I Have Known, I talk about our experiences making commercials out in Hollywood.
They're so good.
It was so exciting. It really was. I mean, we are two country bumpkins going out to Hollywood and flying first class for the first time, staying in a 5-star hotel, getting into black limos that delivered us to the shoot. It was a blast. And we did three different, oh, what's that word?
Commercials?
No.
Versions. 3 versions.
There's a better word. Campaigns.
Okay. Oh, good.
For the same product.
You remembered.
You're very good. But it was fun. Yeah.
Oh, I write in my book about Glitzy Gladdy. You're probably getting to know her.
I read
my
that.
mom.
And I could relate my mom to your mom.
I get the sense that you were very much influenced by your mom.
I was. That doesn't mean that we're similar or the same.
Yeah, you were different.
Exactly.
Like I've been through enough of the book that I know you were very different.
Yeah, I was a tomboy, horse crazy, from a small.
Your mom was very refined,
and mom was very
domestic.
And domestic. My goodness, yeah. You definitely could eat off of her floor, and that's not just an old saying. You really could eat off of my mother's floor. She had very high standards for housekeeping, and I never quite came up to them, never quite measured up, but that's all right. She loved me anyway. So here I was, a tomboy, and she was refined, loved the opera. She loved ballet. She played bridge, and she did a lot of refined kind of activities. And then the Baltimore Orioles came to town, and she did a complete 180. She became their head cheerleader. She danced around the house, kicked up her heels, never missed a game. The schedule was taped to the refrigerator, and that's pretty much my first book. And it was life with somebody who was totally obsessed with the Baltimore Orioles.
Wow. And she just totally changed her personality and her life and everything over the passion of a sport. That's crazy.
It really is. It's really weird. That said, she was very understanding of my passion for horses. My entire life.
I love horses too. I get it. I get it completely, Peggy.
Yeah. Only
only horse people get it.
Get it.
Your mom, though, I understand, was quite a spitfire in her later years, that she was in a senior community, and there must have been some incident with a scooter.
Oh, yes. She had one of those motorized scooters. After my dad passed away, Mom fell and broke her hip and had a hard time walking the long hallways in the facility. And so we got her a scooter, and it was fine for a while, but she was 90.
And she was a little bit of a crazy fast driver.
Dear, she was a what? Crazy what?
Crazy fast driver.
Oh, I thought you said crazy ass driver.
Oh, well, maybe that too. You never know.
That too, actually. She ran over my foot one day, and I had bruises for over a week. It's funny, I'd be walking down the hallway with her. Maybe we would be going to the church service on Sunday morning, and they had long corridors. They're still there, of course. And we would be going down the corridor. I'd be walking alongside of the scooter, and Mom's driving, and I would look ahead, and people would see her coming. Well, I guess she had a bit of a reputation, because these people would scatter. I mean, they would just take off. They didn't want to be caught in the hallway with my mother. One day we were going to get on the elevator to go somewhere. The doors open, and there were 3 or 4 people on there, their eyes open wide. They saw my mother in her scooter, and they shot off that elevator. They eventually, insisted that she stop driving.
Well, something tells me that you're going to be doing the same thing when you get in that situation, but you're just really killing it in the later years, and you're a role model to let other people know. Don't just think that you have to sit in the rocking chair and decline. Like, you can go out there and have an exciting, invigorating life that keeps you getting up every morning and thinking, oh my gosh, what do I have to do today? And I love that you write like Herma Bombeck, because I always loved Irma. And I love that you write about it in these books, just about your mother and now about your father. And hey, Peggy, I should tell them about our publisher because we have the same publisher.
Yes,
Oh, you have mine? Okay, go ahead. So I have hers and you have mine. But
Yeah.
our publisher has a special Mother's Day deal that you can have both of these books for $35. And that's like a huge savings. So we're going to start this now. And they say that you, as soon as we go off, we'll put the pricing and you're going to go to, it's premiercollectibles.com/bundle. premiercollectibles.com/bundle. And they say that if you order now, you're going to get it, or your mother or your aunt or your daughter who's being such a fabulous mother, that they will get them by Mother's Day. Hey, Peggy, you've been fabulous. I really enjoyed the book. I think we have somewhat similar audiences, so that's really great. And you know, just keep going. You know, don't think you have to stop, but keep writing and being in your son's shows.
If this has taught me anything, it is that it's never too late. Really, I see women who are in their 60s and 70s, and they say, "Well, you know, I always wanted to do that, but it's too late." It is not too late. It is never too late.
Living proof that it's never too late. Thank you very much, Peggy.
Thank you for inviting me.
Have a good time. Have a good time on Mother's Day, because I'm going to be thinking of you on Mother's Day.
Oh, well, then I'll think of you. Thank you, Joan.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.